Welcome to Focus on Art. I'm your host, Barbara Cohen-Air, and today we're in Collinsville, Oklahoma, a sleepy little town that's been drastically changed in the last 3 years by artist Diana Woodruff. She came and took ordinary-looking buildings like this one, decorated them with wonderful colors, and as you can see here on Choo Choo Choo, great neon designs, and added a wonderful visual excitement to a town that we might otherwise think of as just another one of the towns here in the northeastern Oklahoma area. The next building that she transformed on the outside is a very interesting one. You look up over the door and it says Africa on Main Street, a dental safari. If you happen to have to have your teeth worked on while you're here in Collinsville, you can look over your shoulder and see a rather friendly lion on this side, or if you go over to this side, things get to be a little more ferocious. Today we're going to spend most of our time in this gallery where we have a number of Diane's works exhibited. She is a serious artist, and although some of these things are really fun and really exciting, I think you'll find in the gallery a little bit more serious side of a very talented artist. My guest today is going to be Mary Barnett. Mary's going to take us through the gallery. Was a student of mine at Rogers State, so I always like seeing my old friends. Hi, Mary. Welcome to Focus on Art.
Thanks. My pleasure.
Well, we're really excited about being here in Collinsville and getting to see this just tremendous amount of work. I didn't know when this lady slept.
I know what you mean. She's definitely, the word prolific fits her. This area right in here is her America series. She has the Liberty series and the Constitution of the United States. And of course, all of us can recognize the Washington Monument and various other things that we've seen on television, and maybe some of us were lucky enough to go there and see them before. But this is sort of a tribute to America. It's big. It's a big place, big people, and big paintings.
Great. Well, why don't we start over here with this one first? Now, obviously, this is a real three-dimensional work. Is this a plastic, or what kind of material is she using here?
I know that she uses some styrofoam. She told me one time she likes to work in a sculpting type medium. And the more she does it, I think the more she prefers a 3D or relief type picture. And I know she carves in styrofoam, and she has another form of plastic material, but I think it's kind of a secret process that she uses that she likes to keep to herself.
Well, this is a fantastic piece. You know, you start right here in the center of this thing, and you really can see inside of the Senate chambers. Of course, that's an event that takes place in the National Capitol. When you go up from the Senate chambers here, she's done this terrific job on the dome, and the color's magnificent.
I was going to say, you know, that I'm a color person myself from what I've done, and I really appreciate that, the varied hues and everything in that particular piece.
Well, it's a wonderful piece. What's the silver one over here that's next to it?
Okay, now this one, we don't have it operating. A lot of her work, she uses motorizes it. And this particular one right here, the little horse goes around in a circle, but we don't have that hooked up today. I wish we did. But that's just another in her series, America series.
Okay, it looks to me like maybe the White House is the background here. Okay, gorgeous piece, and once again the color. Now, she went to the University of Tulsa, is that right?
Yes, she graduated in '63 from the University of Tulsa.
Okay, and is she a native Oklahoman?
No, I think she's from California, born in California, but she's an Oklahoman by choice, she says.
All right.
She lived here a good part of her life. Her family traveled a good deal, and I think they were in Oklahoma for several years at a time.
Okay, another just very interesting piece, and lots of things that we can recognize. She does a nice blending of the abstract, the non-objective, and the realistic. Gosh, I have to look down here at this corner to these bills. Those look all pretty real to me.
I know. I've kind of wondered. I think they're smaller than the actual bills. Otherwise, I think she could be in deep trouble, right? So I don't think they're actually the correct size. But I'm not sure if the bills have any significance or if it was just a way to get all of the president's pictures in there.
I see. Okay. Well, that would work for me. Now, out here in the middle, she's got a couple of pieces. We might start with this one on the back side.
Yes. Now, this is the Constitution, the United States Constitution.
And once again, a very interesting three-dimensional approach. It's interesting the way she has those doors standing open.
Yeah, they seem to invite you in to look at it, don't they?
Absolutely. Okay, and, this is wonderful. I know what we're doing here. We're looking up in the dome of the Capitol. Is that right?
And there's more money. Mo money?
Mo money, okay. And this does look a little smaller.
Mm-hmm.
I'm interested in this part of the dome up here, which kind of almost looks like a mosaic.
Mm-hmm. Those are stamps. You remember the love stamps, and she's made the mosaics out of stamps, and it looks like some money also up in the top of that. She uses a lot of found things in her art. She started out, a lot of her things have hardware store type finds that she incorporates into her art. I assume for texture and just variety, you know, things that you're not expecting to see in an artwork. And it fits beautifully with the carving type sculpting effect.
Right. Okay, let's go over here and walk along this wall and take a look at some of these. Now, this one is very interesting in that the paint seems to have an iridescent quality to it. Do you know what kind of paint she's using for this?
No, I sure don't. Diane does a lot of experimentation and mixing and blending of her own. And I don't know if some of it is artist good luck or if she just knows right off the bat what she's doing.
Well, this has certainly got beautiful colors and then that iridescent quality. I don't know if that will show up on the tape or not, but it kind of glistens. There's kind of almost like pearls on the surface.
Yeah, it does. It looks like the inside of a seashell with the pearlescent mica formation.
Okay, now are these three part of a series, a mural that goes together, or are these three individual works?
I believe these three go together. This is the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, and I'm not sure what the title of it is, but I think the three of them are hung together.
Let's talk about, well, this one has 87. So would you say the works in this room are what, maybe the last 5 years that she's been working?
Yes, I would think so. She's worked for so many years, but she did have a break in between. She took time off for a while, and I don't, because of personal things that were going on in her life, and then these latest paintings, I think she started doing those right before or about the time she came to Collinsville. And I think these are the newer ones that she's done since she's lived here.
Okay, well, these are wonderful. Let's see the last one down here in this series. Has she exhibited around the country? Does she have a
Yes,
big
Barbara,
repertoire?
she's had exhibits in New York City and in California, Carolina. She's really quite well known. She's had international exhibits. People have come to this gallery from as far away as Japan to look at her work. And she did have a gentleman from the Smithsonian was here to look at her stuff. And I believe they had a write-up about that in the Tulsa World a few months ago. But yes, she's exhibited all over the world.
You know, I think there are wonderful things here in northeastern Oklahoma that we seem sometimes to just not exist.
I don't think people realize how much we do have here.
Well, this is really neat. Now, we have more rooms in this gallery than just this first one, but this is a great room. It's almost hard to walk out of this one, but I guess we should go on to the next one.
Yes, I think so.
Mary, we might take a minute here and just mention that Diane will be with us later, but that she isn't feeling real well today. In fact, you're not feeling very well today either.
That's true. I have the flu bug too, and I'm going to try to last a few minutes longer, and then we'll talk with her a little bit at the end of the show.
Okay, let's talk about the space before we get to the works of art in here. Now, we know her almost as much as a renovation architect.
That's true. This building was one of the first buildings ever purchased by a woman in Collinsville, and it was used as a dry goods store. That's why the windows and so forth back in the back, that's where the office used to be in the store, and she's just tore this whole thing apart. A lot of local workers and artisans came in and helped her out, and she saved as much of the old building as is possible. She actually saved it from being torn down is what it was. They were just going to level it, and she can see wasting all of this great architecture and beauty that was here.
Okay, wonderful. Well, now we might start and look at this staircase. I believe you told me this is not anything with any hidden meaning.
Not that I know of. I think it's more or less a conversation piece. I think it's just a stairway to somewhere or nowhere or whatever you want to.
Okay, well I can go with that. And there's a very interesting chair back here in the corner. Now what's the story behind this?
Well, Diane told me that this chair is not a monument to herself, that what it is to remind her always of her late husband. He supported her for many years in her art career and took care of their children and worked a couple of jobs, and she said he did a lot of washing and ironing and cooking so that she could do her artwork. So that's to remind her always that of what he did for her.
Wonderful. Okay, now we have a number of paintings, or you hate to use that word painting because they're almost sculptures, all along this wall, and this series deals with states, is that right?
Yes, she did a series of states. Each state in the Union she created a painting for, and a series of the 9 presidents who have been in office since she was born. And and that's what this gallery mostly consists of, is the tribute to America is what it is. Hence the spacious skies named for the gallery.
All right. Well, we know which president that is. And let's see, we have a number of presidents here, it looks like.
Well, this is President Nixon's portrait. It has a lot of different people in it, but he was a president for an extended period of time, or in, politics, the limelight. So she's kind of included a whole lot of things, like a collage type effect. And there's a little story behind the fact that he's in water. She said that she had been inspired to do Nixon's portrait, and that for some reason she kept seeing him in water. And she finished it, turned it in, and it was done the day before Watergate broke. So she says perhaps she's a bit psychic in that. There's a larger version of that too that I'll show you later on.
Okay, and this one is dealing with a state?
Yes, she generally has a little notation as to which state it represents. She doesn't have that one here, and it's not quite as obvious as the one next to it, which is Florida.
Absolutely, with the two. It seems like we have 2 pieces that work together here.
Yes, she does that. Occasionally she'll have 2, and on one of them, on the Mississippi state, she has 3 pictures as one.
Okay, in this series. Boy, the texture on this thing is just magnificent. It's all I can do. All I can do not to put my hand on it. But a real, even in something that's basically flat like this one, she still has that strong 3-dimensional emphasis. Okay, and here we have. Which state is this?
Well, I'm not sure about that one either. I think some of them you can kind of. He looks like he's wearing a Quaker hat, so that may be somewhere, like Pennsylvania or somewhere like that. Each one of the states she went to, and she tried to take the essence of each state and paint what it was. Some of these may just be, may not be the actual representative picture from that state. It may just be something that she thought of later or as she was doing them.
Okay.
And,
well, these are just wonderful. Once again, the three-dimensional aspect, the way things are built up over the top here and the layers and so forth. It's very exciting.
yes.
And we've walked along here and looked at one series. We could look above our heads, and there is another whole series along this particular wall.
Yes, we give tours. You can make an appointment for a tour of the gallery, or you can come on Saturdays for tours. But I think it would really take you more than one tour to actually see everything that there is to see here and appreciate it.
Well, you can even appreciate this sunken area that she's put in here where you can stop and take a look at the paintings and so forth and kind of
rest a little bit.
Absolutely.
I would like to point out here, these are the original. She did these in '64 when right after she got out of college, and presidential portraits. And she started doing them then and continued all the way through President Clinton. She just finished one of him. It's in another building on the tour.
Oh, that's right. I think I saw that across the street. Okay, well, we certainly know who these young men are and young women. Okay, and this is in '68. Yeah, I was thinking of the Kennedy era, so that's a reasonably early collage from the early part of her career. And this is the first president that I really remember being excited about. The president, I think it was maybe in grade school, had a great big "I like Ike" button.
And you should have hung on to that, because I think they're worth a lot of money now.
All right, next we have probably the largest work of art that we have in this building now. Is this one of her largest pieces?
Yes, it is. This is the Nixon portrait, which we saw earlier on the other wall in a smaller version of it. But yes, it's the largest portrait or piece that we have in the gallery right now.
And in addition to the fact that it's sculptural and three-dimensional, it also is self-lit. Yes. And then we have some documents and some photographs down here below it. A wonderful visual image of the career of a president.
I think so.
You know, it's amazing that she can do here in a matter of a few square feet what you could write in a book that would take pages and pages and hours to read. It's a neat way to come and get your history lesson.
That's true.
In a very visual way. Now, as we come on down here to kind of the back corner of this wall, who do we have here?
Okay, this is Gerald Ford.
Okay, a very recent president.
She chose him in an athletic type forum because of his football years, and I think he's an avid swimmer and skier as well. So she chose to put him in an active type setting rather than like a desk type president.
Well, when I think of Gerald Ford, I certainly think of him in those terms. And then there was one more thing I think we wanted to point out in this gallery, and it was these two small paintings that are over here kind of almost below what we would think of as a wainscot. Now, what are we going to do with these two?
Okay, these are prints of the paintings that represent Oklahoma. The original paintings were sold to the Gilcrease Museum. That's where they are now. And but a mural painter has done enlargements of these particular paintings, and they will be hanging on the Tulsa Chamber of Commerce building shortly. They're still here in Collinsville right now, but they plan to move them and hang them up there sometime soon.
Well, now the upstairs of this building is the old brothel.
Yes, that's correct.
And we don't want to miss that on our tour.
Okay.
Well, Mary, I think you could call this a flight of stairs.
Yes, if this was the old body house, my mother went on this tour, and she said a young man would have to be pretty seriously in need of some affection to climb all these stairs.
Well, we must be pretty seriously in need of looking at some art to do this too.
That's true.
Okay, we might stop here and take a look down the hall. Now, we have all these little individual rooms that come off of the hallway, and she's decorated all of them.
Yes, and she's given each room a name.
Okay.
This is Gypsy Rose's name, her room, I guess, and they're labeled like that all the way down.
What's that bathtub doing out there in the middle of the hall?
Well, that's its original place. When they renovated the building, that's where it was, and everyone's wondered why they had no walls around the bathtub. But I guess if the building was used for the purpose we think it was, nobody was too modest.
Okay, that's a good point. Well, let's take a look at what we have in Gypsy Rose's room. My goodness,
Okay.
a wonderful painted dresser. Looks like she's kind of used the theme.
Yes, she has, and I noticed too, it's textured as well. I think she used the plastic material also on this that she uses on so many of her paintings. You know,
Okay.
kind of mixed it in with the paint.
Well, and if we're kind of over here in this corner, we've got Gypsy Rose's hat.
Yes, she has lots of collectibles and antiques too. I assume they're things that she's collected over the years, as well as, you know, to go along with her artwork.
Okay, and then we have the bed and the dollar bill over the over the bed. That's kind of interesting. Now here we have a reference to a reasonably well-known painting. Actually, a couple in here. This one up on the top is a little rendition of the birth of Adam from Michelangelo's Sistine Chapel ceiling. Looks like we have a little bit of a Matisse around here on the side. I think this just points out to us one more time that we're talking about an artist here that has a formal
True.
training, an art history background, and so forth. Now we have a couple of what looks like rather serious paintings on the wall here, a little different than the Gypsy Rose theme.
Yes, well, I would assume that this is Mount Rushmore, so these are probably paintings, and this says Nebraska here. So these are more paintings from her state series. I guess the Great Plains and the Covered Wagon, and that looks like the Tall Grass Prairie, doesn't it? Like in Oklahoma and
Right.
west of there, up here.
Okay, and then there's one more of those wonderful things done with money. This seems to be a tribute to the $100 bill. I'll tell you what, if Gypsy Rose was making $100 back at the beginning of
Early part of Collinsville,
Right.
she was doing all right, wasn't she?
she had a great business going. Now the bike, that of course is not of the period. Why is that in here?
Well, we assume that if you came to visit Gypsy Rose, you wouldn't need any further exercise anyway, but Diane rents out these rooms, and she stores certain things like this in here. These rooms are used all the time for other than just her artwork to be hung in.
All right, well Mary, thank you so much. We're going to go take a quick visit with Diane and really appreciate your helping us today.
It was my pleasure. Thanks for being here.
We're going to meet Diane Woodruff here in Choo Choo Choo, and as we're headed back that way, don't miss the wonderful train motif that you see in this particular building. I also want you to note this poem that's on the wall over here. Diane's son wrote that, and we'll be asking her about that in just a second. Well, Diane, I'm delighted to see you today. Welcome to Focus on Art.
Thank you, Barbara.
We just had a wonderful afternoon touring the gallery down the street and looking at your works of art. You do a great job, and I think we really appreciate having you here in northeastern Oklahoma.
Thank you very much.
Now, you are not a native, but this is your chosen state,
Correct. Yes.
and you've lived around New York City for a while
Yes.
in your early career and
Mid-career.
mid-career. Okay, and then you came back here to Collinsville.
Right.
Okay, tell us a little bit about this space and what caused you to create this wonderful train.
Oh, about 10 years ago, my youngest son was 17, and I had left him on his own pretty much in California, and it turned out to be fine. And he got off of the airplane when he came back to visit with a poem in his pocket called Iron Lady. And it's about a very stubborn woman, and I surmise that it might be his mother. And so I kept the poem in my drawer for about 10 years, and then I had the opportunity to create something about trains, and Craig saw it about 6 months ago. That's my son.
Okay, and actually, you did a painting that's on the wall over your shoulder here. That is
That's
the
right.
Iron Lady.
Right. Yes, I did that and dedicated it to Craig. I've also done several others, such as the pen and ink drawing over here called Iron Lady. And then along the wall over here, I've done several others, from a diesel to the Alaskan Railroad and up and down the wall. Many different varieties of trains. This is a black light train that I did after I came back from Disney World about a year ago. This train is something that a gentleman brought as a thank you gift. I guess he brought it about a year and a half ago.
Well, now, Diane, did you always have an interest in trains? Is that one of the loves of your life, or is this all out of that one poem and that one trip on the Alaskan Railway?
I'd say it's out of the one trip on the Alaskan Railway, my son Craig and his poem, but also the fact that my brother loved trains when we were young, and I always thought I should too, but didn't think I should at that time. Now I'm catching up to my brother.
Okay, well, I think that's fair. I'm real fond of trains too. What other great loves do you have in your life? Subject matter that you're particularly fond of beside the trains?
I have to say that it comes and it goes, but currently I'm working on something called Henry's Cars. I've never been involved with cars, but one of my patrons currently owns a car dealership, so I'm
Okay, so, and you're into contemporary cars or antique cars?
contemporary.
Okay, and what are you going to do with that? Is that going to be big three-dimensional things?
I'm doing it right now. Some of it is three-dimensional. It's going to go into a restaurant called Carmichael's in Tulsa. So it'll be Henry's Cars at Carmichael's, and that's what I'm working on at the moment. So I change from trains to cars.
Okay, well that sounds pretty exciting. Now you have a project that's going up for the Chamber of Commerce in
Oh, yeah.
Tulsa too.
Right. The Cowboy and Indian, the Oklahoma paintings, done originally in 1966 and then blown way up in size now in 1993. And that'll be February 25th.
Okay, do you have the address where the...
7th in Boston, and Mayor Savage will be there to, I don't know, she says unveil them, but I'm not sure how you unveil a 16-foot painting.
Okay, and they're going to be on the outside of the building, right?
Yes.
Okay, so if we have viewers that would like to go by and take a first-hand look at those, they'll be able to do that.
Yes, right.
Hey, let's talk about your work here in Collinsville. Now, you're open, I believe Mary told us, on Saturdays, but other times just by calling, is that right?
Right.
Who should people call?
Call Colette Stenseth at 371-6291.
Okay, and then she opens for groups. Would she open for an individual?
I think she opens for 4 or more, and there is a slight charge because it takes time and we have to turn on the utilities. These things are mostly stored
Okay.
right now.
Well, now there's one more project that I want to mention. We're not going to get to see this today, but let's talk about the dome for a minute.
That dome came off of the first Jewish synagogue in Tulsa, and inside are Saddam and President Bush and Desert Storm.
Okay, interesting theme for a very old dome. That was the first synagogue in Tulsa, right?
Right, it was.
Okay. Well, Diane, I really appreciate your being here. It's been a wonderful day
Thank you,
in
Barbara.
Collinsville. For those of you at home, we appreciate your being with us as always for Focus on Art. We'll look forward to having you back next time.